Hey, it's your friend in wrestling, Stephen Platinum, with Platinum versus Impact Wrestling. Yes, I didn't have enough of these to do, so I've added Impact to the list, at least until such time as I feel like Impact isn't really worth watching. But maybe it will continue to hold my interest, and I will continue to see the significance in covering this show as well. I had to discover where this show was. I will watch clips because Impact is a big presence on YouTube, and so they put out like show recaps every week, and so I'll watch those. But I have honestly never watched Access Television. I had to locate it, and I'm staying at somebody else's house. So I did a search for Impact Wrestling, and it was on channel 1080. Jumpin' Jesus. But watch it, I did. Let's go down. Let's see what's going down. December 8th show. Overall impressions of the show. Might as well start there. So we opened hot. I was glad to see the North, right? So we had Josh Alexander against Chris Sabin of the Motor City Machine Guns. And I guess the Motor City Machine Guns have been doing this thing where they're going through different tag teams. So this was going on tonight. And our commentators are Josh Matthews and I believe his wife, right? Madison Rain. They were all right. Boy, they talk a lot. And boy, it was weird to be in a space with this show where there are zero fans on a screen. You hear every noise from that ring. It's really disconcerting, honestly, and it's very indie. I'll just say that right off the jump. That doesn't mean anything as far as the ring work and all that. I'm just telling you what I'm observing watching this show, right? Long story short, the story of the North was, I don't need your advice. I can win this match on my own. But he takes his partner's advice of, drop him on his head. So he goes for a pile driver and then gets jackknife pinned and Sabin wins. It was all right. But I thought to myself, boy, if they have a lot of matches that match this length and sort of pace of the match, which is quite quick, but there isn't a lot of room to breathe in these matches. And I mean, this sounds crazy to say. I'll find it boring if I get match after match this way. But we'll see. Boy, I hope they don't split the North up before they wrestle FTR. Because it's one of those first things I thought of where it's like, oh, God, you think about crossover matches, you think about some of the women that might be able to challenge Hikaru Shida, and you think about tag teams that might be able to challenge FTR or the Young Bucks and whatnot, and the North is the first team I thought of. And, of course, you have the Motor City Machine Guns, who have a long history with the Bucks. Anyway, so we have TJP against Brian Myers. I like the look of TJP. Brian Myers, they were definitely building up as this bigger guy. And again, another match which was perfectly fine, but it just kind of, it went along. It was this spot of TJP applying this knee bar and then the opponent grabbing the referee and throwing the referee into him to break it up, but there's no consequence to throwing the referee? Fucking makes no fucking sense. I'm glad they're going for different finishes. I'm glad I don't have to see a series of endless roll-ups like on Raw. Don't get me wrong. But a finish where it's like, well, you should be disqualified doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Very strange. Scott D'Amore was also all over this show. Just all over the place. So the little backstage vignettes, I don't know, different levels of successful. I was hoping to see some really crazy Impact shit. I was like, oh, can I see some, Sinister Minister doing some stuff in the netherworld with some of the women? But we didn't get that. Obviously, I think they were on their best behavior to put best foot forward, which unfortunately just made for like a real match and another match and another match and another match feel. Tommy Dreamer's back there, and they set up a match where this dude will get out of jail or he won't be accused of attempted murder. Like, what the fuck? What? Corey Diener, who I remember from when TNA was strong, and of course Eric Young, who's a staple. Eric Young's got his shit together. That's one thing I'll say. Boy, it's great to see somebody sort of at the, still in their physical prime in the sense that they can still go as good as ever, but they've got that mind thing going. And I'll say this, most of the Impact wrestlers, great facial expressions, really know how to put over a thing. It's just weird having no semblance of a crowd and just hearing every little noise that the ring makes and every little shake and squeak. It's just something I'll just have to get used to, I suppose. Young, Diener puts up a good offense and flurry of offense as much as he can, but Young eventually just puts him away with that really great looking fucking pile driver. And then beatdown commences until Rhino shows up with a lead pipe that looks fake as shit. Oh my god, distractingly so. It looks like I remember when WCW folded, and one of their like production prop guys grabbed a whole bunch of the weapons they would use, and there were all these like heavy foam weapons that were made to look like real things, and they were cool, and we would fuck around with them all the time. That's what it looked like. It just looked like a fake ass foam thing that they were trying to make look like a pipe with paint. The match was fine, but again, it's just like meh. And I was just saying to myself, God, they have so many interesting women. I wish, and then they're having a women's tag tournament. And so there's their champion, Purrazzo, and Kimberly. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then Taya Valkyrie, which I was thrilled to see. And Rosemary, who was my kid's fucking favorite forever. When we would go to the TNA shows, we would go to indie shows to see Rosemary. And my kids would wear the makeup. And Rosemary would interact with them. And I'm a big Rosemary fucking fan. And I was super excited to see it. And the story of the match made more sense than any of the matches I've seen thus far, which is that Josh Matthews set up very effectively a lot of finishers that have to do with different variations of arm stuff. So Purrazzo's looking to grab arm bars and all that kind of stuff. It all made sense. And then it broke down. Long story short, Lee and Purrazzo fuck up. Rosemary takes advantage, does her like very complicated looking finisher, drops her down, sort of like a variation of a Black Widow, except you're facing each other. And gets the pin. Yay, Rosemary and Valkyrie advance. Makes me happy. It's good. It's a good look for the Knockouts division. They certainly showed that they can work better than a lot of the women in AEW. And I would say normally, but not as good as the women in the WWE. But lately, that talent has thinned quite extensively. So Sami Callihan setting up his thing with Eddie Edwards. The person I was watching with didn't even know about the Sami Callihan fucking up with the bat and hitting Eddie Edwards in the head, so they were really shocked that they would use that. But it made sense to me. That's Callahan's shtick, is like, I'm the fucking evil. I think it makes sense for him to go into a thing with Eddie Edwards. They're both former world champions that are nowhere near that picture, so why not put them against each other? It makes a lot of sense to me. And then, he's going to attack Eddie Edwards with the bat. But Alicia Edwards makes her way down, providing a distraction so Eddie could attack him from behind. And he's scurrying to the back. And it's all in between these two, I suppose. Makes sense. Rich Swann, which I pop for, who is their real champion. And then with Willie Mack, who's a guy I really think a lot of, against Chris Bay and Moose. And the interaction between Chris Bay and Moose earlier, by the way, really set the stage really nicely of who Moose is, and that he's this fake world champion who claims it and all this kind of stuff. Tag match was pretty fair, pretty good, but again, it's the same kind of pace that they wrestle in these matches. And I can only speak from the perspective of me, which is, man, a lot of the matches just feel like they're in the exact same rhythm. I mean, it's kind of like hearing somebody sing a song that you like, but then they sing variations of that same song throughout the night. I just don't know how to describe it, but the pace and the work rate of everybody's match is the same. And everybody counters everybody's stuff all the time. And the story is rarely rarely as stories of a clash of differences, and instead a story of outdueling somebody who's doing the same shit you're doing, even when they have somebody who's much bigger than somebody else. It's just a matter of everything is always outdueling instead of imposing a style or adapting to somebody's style. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's my overall take. The tag match is really good, but at the end of the day, Bay and Moose managed to defeat Mac and Swan, which is the only finish that really makes sense, of course. And then Kenny Omega shows up. Don Callis cuts a really long promo. I would imagine this is going to be the point where people are going to go like, that was super boring, or people are going to go like, that was really great. I'm going to lean towards it was really great. Setting up this history, implying that it's this endlessly long plan. And then Omega acquits himself nicely as sort of this douchebaggy heel. The only other thing that was really great on the show was the commercial that Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone did. Perfect bit of smarm and sort of throwing things out there that would get people talking. Again, AEW is masterful at eating up the wrestling news landscape, and this is certainly going to help with that cause. Anyway, my first takeaway from Impact is, man, I hope I just don't keep getting this feeling that everything is the same beat hitting again and again and again and again. Variety would be nice in terms of match length, match style, and people doing different things. I needed a palate cleanser match, and I didn't get one. I needed a squash of some kind. They're going to serve themselves well if they will follow these kind of performance things. We need an Act 1 and an Act 2 in spirit. And we need some variety in the match flow and the metronome of what they're doing. That's just my advice. Anyway, I'm going to keep covering Impact until I just don't feel like doing it anymore. So this is Stephen Platinum, your friend in wrestling, with Platinum versus Impact.